Ohio State recruiting has been a massive topic of discussion in all Buckeye circles on all social media platforms. So I kind of want to settle this in just a very brief video. A friend of mine, a friend of the channel, Gyro, asked me on my Discord server whether or not he thinks Ohio State needs to change their recruiting strategy, especially with Oregon and Texas, and I would even include now USC and maybe A&M and Notre Dame, and a lot of these schools, Miami, for example, they're clearly paying big dollars to recruits. They are more than willing, especially USC and then Oregon and Texas as well, paying huge money, in cases overpaying by quite a lot for high school players, for talented high school players. Subscribe and hit the notification bell and like this video as well to get us into the algorithm, and hit the bell for both the Ohio State podcast and playlist in my description, and for the channel if you want to see me cover more Ohio State football. Would love to have as many Ohio State subscribers as possible. Anyway, he asked that question. I'm asking that question here, and I'm going to pose it in two ways. This can be a bad thing for Ohio State, and it can also be a good thing for Ohio State. And let me explain quickly why. So, the bad news. I'm going to give the bad news first, then the good news. I love to end off on a good note. The bad news is Ohio State, I think, clearly has shown that they do not want to pay large bucks to top-tier high school players. And I get that. You don't want to pay incoming players more than players on your roster. I mean, look at Michigan with Bryce Underwood at quarterback. Quarterback makes it a little bit different, maybe more understandable since he's starting, but still, like, I can understand how that could cause some issues in the locker room. Look at Oregon paying in some big money for their incoming freshmen. USC with their current 2026 recruiting class, they're paying a tight end money that is like Bryce Underwood level money, except said tight end probably won't be starting as a true freshman, or maybe he will be. They just got a commitment from Luke Waffle. Reports that they were paying almost $2 million a year for him, certainly over $1 million. And then A&M, they were a finalist for a 5-star corner along with Oregon, the number 1 corner in the nation. I imagine they gave him a wonderful NIL package because Oregon does that. Not that Ohio State doesn't pay their high school players. I mean, they were finalists with Luke Waffle along with USC and Penn State. And the reason Penn State wasn't even brought up really as a top 2 player is because Ohio State was paying way more in NIL reportedly compared to Penn State, where Waffle's brother currently plays at defensive tackle. Now, Penn State, I think, they're not paying a lot because they're returning a bunch of players and retaining a lot of them, and they're paying a lot of their returning starters millions. For Ohio State, I think that was the case last year, but they still made some pretty good portal moves and recruited a good class, but they always do that. They naturally recruit top 5. The bad news is, if the current trends continue and that Ohio State doesn't pay high schoolers the current market value of their services, even if that feels like overpaying, the reality is, with where things are going, the Luke Waffle deal, the Bryce Underwood deal will look like nothing in a few years. If Ohio State continues to refuse to pay players what the market value is, and they want to only pay players what they interpret their value as, there's a chance that their recruiting will slip from being among top 3, top 4, even top 5 annually to not outside the top 10. That would never happen, but just outside the top 5, and that would hurt the roster a little bit. But the good news is, and this is what I want to focus on before we get out of here, the good news is we've seen what Michigan did before under Harbaugh, where their recruiting dipped, but that's because they didn't pay players more than what they thought they were worth. It allowed them to retain older guys, and it helped win them a national title with a senior-laden, talented, developed, cohesive roster. Penn State's doing the same thing right now. I think that above and beyond, they're the favorites to win it all this year. I think they're the best team by a mile, maybe by a touchdown or more this season. I think they're going to be that good and dominant. Ohio State for 2026, with how many players they could bring back, they could be that caliber of team. They could go 15-1, 16-0, and it feels like to me, with how Ohio State's going about their NIL and transfer portal moves recently, it feels like they're loading up for 2026. I believe in Ryan Day. I believe in his approach. I think he has one of the best cultures in college football, so I trust Ohio State recruiting. I do not think they need to change their recruiting strategy. They just need to make sure it's up to date, and Ryan Day will make sure of that.